Hi, everyone. Apologies for the delay. I feel like if I'm tied to anything live, you guys know there's going to be some type of delay with computer or camera or microphone. It's going to be something. But we're here, and we're so excited to talk about the last pro day that took place at Top Shelf in Colorado. So as everybody is tuning in live, say hello. And you guys should know this friendly face that is sitting above me is Liz Reedy. So make sure you guys shout out to Liz and welcome her on our podcast now. As you guys are coming in, you know the drill. Say where you're tuning in from, your name, and then, of course, feel free to say your business name as well. Now, in the comments section, whether you are tuning in on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, what else am I missing? I feel like there was another platform that we're streaming on these days. Utilize those comments as questions for our team or feedback for other viewers that are tuning in. We believe in community here at Stahls Transfer Express. And if you have something that can be shared to help others, please make sure during our conversation that you do share it. So we're going to dive in. Liz Reedy, thank you for joining me today. I'm very excited.
My first time on the Stahls podcast.
I can't believe it. It's your first time.
I'm excited.
In-person education you've done and videos. And for those of you that feel like this is a new face and you haven't really seen Liz, she is one of our personalities on YouTube with Transfer Express, and you can also find her on the Stahls YouTube channel. She is one of the leaders with our in-person education. She is the face of webinars, and she's taking on podcasts. What else am I missing, Liz? I feel like you're everywhere these days, and I love it.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's been great.
If you guys have had any chance to do market insight meetings, she is one of the educators and creators along with Mia Lockett as well for that program. So you guys are going to get to see Liz more and more through our podcast and enjoy the conversations. And if you haven't had to, or if you haven't had the ability to attend an in-person class with Liz, then hop on it because she is raved by anybody that attends her classes. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the conversation today. If you are like, what the heck are they talking about when it comes to pro days? Pro Days is a longer education class that we have been fortunately enough to partner with Impressions the last several years, where we do an Impressions Pro Day hosted by Stahls and Stahls Transfer Express at Long Beach, Atlantic City, and Dallas or Fort Worth. This year it's at Dallas. And this year, we took it to a traveling pro day. Now, we've only been able to do 2 traveling pro days thus far. The first one was with our incredible brand partner, Lane 7, and we hosted that in their California facility. And this last pro day that Liz got to be a part of was hosted at Top Shelf, one of our incredible partner Decorators in Colorado. And what this is bringing the pro day education and really digging deep into markets, trends, profitability into heat printing, efficiency, up and coming tech, equipment, like anything you can think of to help you become a more capable and confident apparel decorator is really how Pro Day was created. Now, the content of Pro Day was actually derived from surveys that we asked, people in the industry like yourselves, what you wanted to see, what you wanted more education on, really how we could help you be better at your job or achieve or create plans. Anything you could think of, we asked and we got that information back. And boom, Pro Day was created. Now, we took it to a traveling aspect because we really want more people to be able to gain this education, whether you are brand new into the industry, whether you have been in the industry for 20 years, you can always learn something at a pro day. Now, with the traveling pro day of 2025, it is going to change a little bit for 2026, and I will give you a little bit more information on that towards the end. But we're going to go deep into the conversation, get the ins and outs from Liz's perspective, what people were loving, what people wanted to see more of. And then that way, if you have any questions, you can ask those questions and Liz or myself can help you. So Liz, tell us about the team at Top Shelf.
Oh, wow. Top Shelf Printers out in Greeley, Colorado. Huge shout out to Blake, Dan, and Zach and their entire team. They were so welcoming. And even though they're familiar with Stahls, they're familiar with the industry, they were just so excited to open up their space and have us doing education, welcoming customers, some that traveled 5-6 hours to come see us. They were fantastic. And their whole setup and just how gracious they were with their time and also their input throughout Pro Day. That team, phenomenal.
They are some of the most genuine owners team, and do not get me wrong, we have an absolutely incredible customer base, customer friend base. I know that there's been customers like Kathy Taylor. I see that you're tuning in. I don't know if she's ever missed an education session in her life, and we've seen her in person and we've talked, and it's so great that we've been able to build this internal community with Top Shelf, because the people that got to go into their production facility and do a tour, like, even though I've been there, I was just so jealous that I wasn't part of that experience, because it's just such a cool facility and team. So this pro day was a little different than Lane 7. We opened up this pro day with a tour of the facility. That way people could see just how big of an impact that Top Shelf has been able to make, one, in the apparel decoration, right? They're not just heat printing, they're embroidery. They do a ton of heat printing. They do DTG. They'll do tackle twill. They've done several projects for us to help support some of our additional education. What was the overall take on those that had never really been to a production facility that large or seen just how strategic you could be with departments?
So it was a good mix of, like, the eyes were just open, like, oh my goodness, because essentially you have 15 to 20 people, some that just started this into the apparel decorating industry for a month. And then you had some, oh, I'm just under a year. Then you have your veterans, your 10, 15, 20 years. So it was so engaging. And Zach took us from one side to the other, going through the screen printing, DTG, sublimation, their embroidery, all the different stages, utilizing Fulfill Engine. And I think for them to take a step into another business, because I don't run a business, but I will give you the tools that you need to be capable, confident, and successful. So I think when there's just a deeper connection, rubbing elbows together, seeing from one business owner to another. So great takeaways. Incorporating a tour, I really think, set the pace for the 3 hours of education.
Did you find that because we incorporated the tour in this particular layout or schedule, that we had built for Top Shelf, did you find that because there were elements that people got to see, that it actually triggered questions throughout the 3 hours of education?
Absolutely. I think it really did set the pace, set the tone even,
Yep.
because when people they enter, they sit down, they're waiting, but when you add in, an activity element to it, it gets them thinking of, well, how do you organize this section, or how tell me about your order process, because they have a very good intentional setup in their business. So I think be relating to them, thinking, okay, this is their setup. This is the heat printing equipment that they're using. So I think the wheels started to turn. And I'm sure we'll talk more into it, but the engagement we had with this class was incredible.
So before we kind of dive into some of the education, because I don't want to give, all of the little nuggets away, for the education that is reviewed, I'll just first say that every year, Pro Day, the education changes. So if you attended Lane 7 or Top Shelf or any one of the impressions shows for Pro Day, next year, it'll be different. There are always going to be similarities. We're always going to talk about pricing. We're always going to talk about potential issues or hiccups in our industry and finding solutions just to make your life easier. At the end of the day, I would like to think that every single person tuning in or catching this on replay that has a business is in the business to make money. Even if you start the business for fun, there are so many companies that I have seen just blow up, and all they
Mhm.
did was because they started it because they wanted, a hobby, and next thing you know, they've got a full business with 25 people and they're running hard. So if we're in it to make money, we always going to give you the right tools because we're going to have new fresh faces every single time. We also want to give you and review the basics. Sometimes it's very easy to forget some of the basics when we're just in this go, go, go mode of outputting and fulfilling orders that, oh, I need to remember to do that. Or actually, that might be why I'm having this issue and I didn't think of that. And so I just want to preface that because the education we talked at Lane 7 and some of the other impression shows are similar, and this was your first one, did you see an overarching question that was continued to ask, but maybe in a different way? Or did you notice kind of a trend of questions when you went through each market and segment?
So I hope this doesn't open up a can of worms, but a lot of the conversation was on pricing.
Okay.
We showed them the product, we showed them the apparel, the value, and it's so hard because like the Pro Day presentation is so awesome. I don't want to spill the beans
Oh, it's
on
okay.
all of it. We want to keep them coming back for more, but pricing is huge, and the what to use when. Going through each market, what is trending. It's always, well, how do I price this? And how do I know what to use when? Because I was with Danny Marcario for this, and we could have been in Colorado for 5 days with all the nuances, everything behind heat printing. So it was price, it was what to use when, and a lot of us, the Amazon, structure
Sure.
of I want it now, the heat print on demand.
So I think that's a really interesting mention because I believe one of the biggest questions when the pro day took place at Lane 7 was actually going back to basics and understanding and fabrication issues, where this particular pro day was driven by question on profitability and pricing. And it's really cool to see how the conversation and questions change depending on the area or even the time of the year. For you guys that really you haven't seen the presentation, when it comes to pricing, one of the sections, we actually take one of the garments that we decorate during this education, we break down the cost of the transfer, we break down the cost of the garment, and we show you what that cost is. And then we show you what you should be charging because your time is valuable. But there's also a couple of sections where we actually ask the attendees first what they would charge their customer. And we've asked this question without showing the cost of the item because it could be perceived value. So that not only shows that just because it might be more affordable for you to make doesn't change what what the markup should warrant because of the perceived value of the garment. And I think one thing in our industry that we kind of pigeonholed ourselves to at times, and yes, demographics are different, competing companies can be different. Like Liz mentioned, Amazon, and if we're talking about that as a competing company, or even Etsy, the local person with a craft cutter, because I know that can be a touchy conversation, but also that's a lot of times how people get started. But just because we see one cost doesn't mean that we only need to have a 30, 40, or 50% markup. A lot of times we can actually go higher than that just simply because of the product that we are creating, utilizing premium transfers. And I mean transfers as a whole, from a patch and emblem to screen print to direct to film. And pricing is always one of our strongest questions, is how do I price? How do I warrant this cost? And it's actually great to get feedback from those attending in the room, because sometimes you just need that justification that Bobby Sue, 20 miles over from you, is actually making a lot more money because they value the products and their time that they're putting out. And sometimes you just have to make that jump. So that's one of my favorite things to review. A lot of times, Josh is actually the one reviewing pricing. And it's always just great to see attendee feedback. And sometimes I am shocked at some of the prices, which I think is phenomenal. And I mean shocked because the price points are just, incredible. And then sometimes I'm like, no, don't devalue your work,
Mm-hmm.
So moving on from that, what did you feel like people had overall at the end of this experience? What were they saying they loved as their favorite section? Was there particular products that they were really drawn to when you were decorating? Anything that stood out on that?
So first, for product wise, the emblems and patches, it doesn't been around for years. Every education I've done, whether it's a webinar, a trade show, and now first time at Pro Day, they swarm to it because I feel like 2 years ago, people are looking for texture and they want dimension, they want that. It's still relevant today. So when we had hats to pass around, whether it was faux leather or it was, something with, PVC, the rubber patches, silicone, they gravitated to it. And I just love the wow factor, because my primary goal in marketing is to bring awareness and also to get our customers excited, because let's be real, it's a very competitive market. So if I'm not excited about it and I'm like, here's an emblem and patch, have fun with it. No, here's emblems and patches. These are amazing. And let me show you how you can make money, and let me show you how to market it, how to sell it. So anything with emblems and patches. Danny and I had a lot of fun talking about, like you said, the fabrication. We talked about scorching. That always opens up a huge discussion because it is a pain point and it is a challenge because with different fabrication types, not everything's going to work on nylon, spandex, or lycra. And it still amazes me, even those that have been in the industry for 5, 10 plus years, some of them might still have struggles because fabrication evolves, recycled cotton and whatnot. So yeah, emblems and patches, anything to do with fabrication. And it's always so satisfying just to be that wow factor, just to see the look on their face, passing the demos around and giving them the tools and capabilities like you can do this.
I think it's great. So we've got when an attendee comes, we make sure that they get a certain experience. They get particular samples that you can only get at Pro Day. They get some branded merch. They get some additional loose samples. That way, there is some refreshing of the mind and product association, while we really try not to make this a product heavy type of experience. It's more about understanding the opportunities that are out there and the product involved to make it happen. That's from blanks and the decoration pieces used to create the entire visual decorated garment. And we like to really just kind of pack it up as much as possible. That way, when attendees go home and they say, "Oh, I remember Liz decorated with this, PVC patch," they have that sample right then and there. They can touch and feel it, and really hope to make that memory association with it. Of course, everybody's always allowed to take pictures of the collections. We have multiple collections created for each market. Excuse me, we have multiple pieces in a collection that is created for each market that we review. That way, while we're only decorating a couple of pieces on site, you can actually see 5 to 7 pieces of a collection that we've created, and they highlight some of the pain points, trends, decoration methods, and efficiencies within those collections. I want to know what people missed, because that's where I get really excited. Like, oh, okay, when it comes time for 2026 and we are conceptualizing the content and the type of demos and collections that we're creating this, I want to know what people want. So what was the feedback that they would love to see or they want more of outside of pricing?
So I would say, because first off, the conception behind Pro Day is very intentional. And I saw Kathy Taylor said, yes, let's have a 5-day training. That ain't going to happen. By day 3, I'm like, I can't talk transfers anymore and niches and markets. So customer stories, I think, because I'm not going to spill the beans on the slides and presentations, but there are some presentations and slides where we share customer stories that's utilizing a certain product or is in a custom branding or school or promotional, because there's something that happens, that connection, when you see that person on screen sharing their story. Well, I just had an idea, and then 1, 2, 3 years later, I have this brand that's out there, people wearing my logos or my graphics. So I think tying in a little bit more customers' stories that they can relate to. So I received some feedback. A lot of it was, again, fabrication.
Yeah.
I know it was huge, like knowing all the different types of fabrics and that what to use when, the customer stories. So I'm very excited to hopefully see more of the Pro Day feedback for Danny and I to see, what do they want to see in 2026.
I love the idea of customer stories. Now, I'll tell you, every single person from every single pro day does get surveyed. And, again, like I said at the very beginning, we take all of that information and go, okay, here's where, we really think we need to be with pro day. Or do we go more simple? Do we, change the outline, the layout? Like,
Mhm.
we're always thinking of this. And I'll tell you, it's not just me that is thinking of this. It's a group of people that are hosting pro days that get to help formulate the ideas and the reason behind the content that is given, spoken, used, formulated, all those things. I am hearing a lot that going back to the basics is so key, which goes to, I think, a little bit of a nod in fabrication. And if we look at retail and we look at the sponge fleece and we look at um uh oh my gosh, what is it? It's been on the tip of my tongue for the last 2 weeks, but uh it's got like a suede front fleece. Oh my gosh. It'll be back after this podcast. But that's a very, very tricky fabric. And we've seen it in Athleta. We've seen it in Lulu. We've seen it at Alo. I've seen it in Nike. And the biggest thing is we're seeing um, the custom apparel industry start to incorporate this fabrication as well. And it's going to get trickier and trickier to decorate it when it's such a sensitive and delicate fabric that has just a little bit of weight to it. And I think really honing in on the fabrications that we're seeing in the industry and how to decorate them might be one of the ways to go. And then hit on some of the pricing and understanding the efforts put into being able to decorate on that product that maybe other people won't decorate on, and then the customer stories to back up the efficiencies and adjustments into their production facility.
Absolutely.
When we are looking at what's next for Pro Day, we have 2 more Pro Days left in the 2025 calendar year. And to tell you a little bit about that, Impressions Dallas, the 2nd through the 4th is when that pro day is taking place. And that is either on October 1st or October 2nd. And you would actually go through Impressions to register if you want to attend. And of course, if you're going to be attending Impressions Dallas this year. The second one, which is brand new, and is considered in that traveling pro day segment, is partnered with GPX this year at Charlotte. And that is the last one taking place in November. And I'm really excited that we're able to bring the education of pro day to the GPX crowd at Charlotte. That's one of our favorite shows with GPX to attend. And I think it's going to be great just to see how pro day is interpreted, and as well as receiving feedback from those guests that attend. The exciting part for 2026 is that we will continue with Impressions Pro Day starting in January at Long Beach, going into March in Atlantic City. And then we are going to do this summer or spring and summer tour where it will feature traveling pro day like we did at Lane 7, like we did at Top Shelf, and like we're going to be doing with GPX. The cool part is we are formulating that schedule now. And the way we want to create this schedule for 2026 is by you telling us where we should have Pro Day. So if you are tuning in, you want Pro Day to come to your area, drop it in the comments. Let us know in the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group. Share when you see any Pro Day information on our social media pages, whether it is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Let us know that you want us to come to you for the education. While we are looking at potential areas, it's always great to kind of go where the people are. So, like Kathy Taylor just said, Kathy wants an Austin, Texas.
Of course she does.
Becky, where are you and what is home so you can attend? So the cool things like that, right, is we really are wanting to make sure that we can come to you in the best way possible. You will have, I believe, Liz, you're going to be on that traveling circuit.
Yep.
And then we'll have a variety of other people kind of switching in and out, supporting Liz during this education. Oh, Bucky, so sorry, Becky, but Becky said Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes.
And that is the backyard for some of our team members. So I feel like that would be, very easy to get going. But as we're building that schedule, we do hope to have that released, in the next couple of months, especially going into the last pro day of the year at GPX. So be on the lookout. That schedule will be in advance. That way you can have a better way of planning to attend throughout the year and hopefully adjusting your schedule, because I know that we are all super, super busy. When it comes to Pro Day, Liz, any other thoughts or just feedback from the attendees, anything that just made your heart melt that you felt like you really just need to share, whether it is an empowering statement from an attendee? We know how cool Top Shelf, is to work with. We know the tour was fabulous. Anything else where you feel like, I just want people to know?
So the support, and yes, the support from Top Shelf was exceptional. And the attendees that came to support Danny and I, because you're going to walk away with something. In 3 hours, you should walk away with a titch of information to make you more dangerous in this industry. And I honestly, being my first pro day, I was just blown away. I think the attendees that came, they were ready. They were ready to learn. They were very intentional with their questions and their engagement. So for me, it was just the support, knowing that I played a small role in whether it's, hey, this is what to use on this type of fabric, or I didn't think of that solution, because a lot of times you're coming with a challenge or a pain point or a solution. You're there to learn. So knowing they would take 4 to 5 hours of their day to spend with me. So it was honestly just such an honor and a privilege to just be among great minds, for sure.
It's always fun when you get a bunch of people that are like-minded in the same industry together. And it's always just interesting what you can learn from one another, the questions that can provoke other questions or other, thoughts for efficiency and growth, and sometimes just camaraderie, right? Especially if you're solo in your industry, or, you're a two-person business. Sometimes it's just great for networking to build a support system and not looked at as competition. There's always going to be competition, but a little healthy competition and support definitely never hurt, and always helps. So if you guys have any other questions on Pro Day, don't hesitate to reach out to us, ask the questions. We'll get you the answers. Share those places that you would like to see for 2026. I love that we're seeing Kathy and Becky give recommendations, and Kathy even said we can discuss October 1st at Dallas at Pro Day. That means I'll see you October 1st, Kathy. So see you in less than a month. As we wrap up this conversation, Liz, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to just kind of chat and be on here and really share the experience of Pro Day. The traveling Pro Day is meant to be quaint, an intimate setting. It's not meant to feel like a giant classroom. It's meant to be an educational experience. And I think it's clear that was achieved, and even achieved in Lane 7.
Yes.
Andy, good news. GPX, I believe 11/5, so November 5th is where our last Pro Day of the year will be held. So if you're around during that time and you can come, then we would love to see you there. And of course, it doesn't mean that 2026 can't also involve Charlotte again. But as a whole, just know you're going to be seeing more from Pro Day. We're giving more education from 2025 and to 2026. We are continuing to ramp, not wrap, but ramp up more and more education from experiences and intentional conversations that we can create for our customers, potential customers, and decorators. If you are not a part of the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, go join that. That is a huge community that continues to grow. Whether you are heat printing only or heat printing is a line item in your business, even if you're not sure about heat printing but you have questions, just get in that group, because there are some incredible people that are always willing to help, share recommendations and feedback. And of course, make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way you're notified anytime we go live, anytime we are releasing a video on YouTube, and then of course following along for more podcasts. I'm Kelly Walters, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Liz Reedy, it has been an absolute pleasure. It's always a delight to spend time with you.
So much.
And to everyone tuning in, have a fabulous rest of the day and an even better weekend. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.